Closing is not that difficult. The reason why you can't close deals is not because of your objection handling. It's not the leads. It's not the offer that you're on. It's the way that people perceive you and the way that you speak. Because if you can't articulate yourself well and you're stuttering, you're using a lot of filler words, then obviously your prospect isn't going to feel as confident buying from you. Because if you don't look confident, sales is a transfer of energy. So imagine how other people would feel when you're pitching them on a product or a service. They're not going to feel as confident. So how can we convey confidence through the way that we speak? Well, it all goes down into how you articulate yourself. Articulation is one of the most important things that you can learn in sales, more important than objection handling. And I'll give you an example. My generation, 18-year-olds, Gen Z, were very infamous for using the word like. Just look at anyone speaking. They always use that word multiple times every single sentence. And it's weird. And we never notice it until someone calls it out. It's like a virus in your speech. So we need to learn how to remove stuttering, remove filler words, ask better questions. And that way we can get better at sales because we have a deeper discovery. We can articulate ourselves well and also be able to find emotional drivers to pre-handle objections. Now, if you stick around to the end of this video, I'm gonna give you a surprise at the very end that's gonna help you close even more deals to be able to make $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 a month in commission. So if that's what you're looking for, you wanna make more money, then watch this entire video and stick around to the end, and I promise you, it will be worth it. Let's just get into it. Let's say your issue is you stutter a lot. You use a lot of filler words. Dylan, how do we get rid of this? How do we remove it out of our speech so that we can feel more confident? Well, it's very simple. Record a 60-second video of yourself talking, and what you're gonna do, you're gonna tally down how many times are you using certain words. Maybe your filler word is like, or maybe you repeat a certain phrase you know is very common with a lot of people. I want you to tally it down every time that you say it, so that way you can look at it on paper and you become very conscious of your speech. Once you do that, you're gonna take that video from your phone, you're gonna put the phone down on the table, turn the volume all the way up, and just listen to your tonality. How do you sound? Is your voice fluctuating? Or is it very monotone? There's a big difference because now you're listening to yourself as if it was a podcast. It's very important to understand how you speak, but also important to be able to fluctuate your voice. Because if you talk in this monotone voice every single time, your prospect's gonna get bored. And if your prospect gets bored, well, they're not gonna listen to you on the call. And if they're not listening to you, then you can see and imagine what would happen at the end of the call when you price drop. Oh, I just need to think about it. You need to think about it. And now you're handling all of these different objections that you could have easily prevented at the end of the call. Now you're gonna take the video and you're gonna turn the volume off. You're just gonna watch yourself. Watch your hand motions, your facial expressions. How do you convey the message even though there's no sound? Because that's also very important. Because articulation doesn't mean just talking. It means everything around it. How you ask certain questions, the way that you phrase things, your facial expressions, the way that you convey your messages with your hands. Now, if you have a stuttering problem, this is the exact way I would give to you as a $30,000 a month commission closer to fix that problem. If your problem is stuttering, we need to understand why do we stutter in the first place? Well, it's because your brain computes things naturally faster than your mouth can physically speak. And so that's why you stutter. But Dylan, I don't know how to get rid of this. It's very easy. You need to slow down when you talk, and every time that you feel like you're about to stutter or you don't know exactly what to say next, pause. And if you look at people like me or Alex Hormozi, especially Alex Hormozi when he speaks, you'll notice that he pauses a lot. When we pause, it allows us to gather our thoughts, but also for the person that we're speaking to, it allows them to soak in what we just had said. Because imagine if I was a machine gun, I was rapid firing all of these words at you. You wouldn't even be able to keep up with me. But because I pause and I allow you to think about what I'm saying and soak it in, you're with me the whole time. And it's a lot easier for you to follow along. So think about it in a prospect sense. That's exactly why you need to add pauses to your speech. Slow it down. Another great tip that I have for you if you want to remove your stuttering is do this daily. It's an exercise that you do for 15, 20 minutes. Find some tongue twisters that you can read over and try to do it for 10 to 15, 20 minutes a day. Reading over these tongue twisters, you'll notice that these words are hard, but you're able to pronounce them just fine over time. And you'll realize, wow, my speech is so much clearer. I can articulate myself without stuttering, without using all these filler words. And again, sales is a transfer of energy. So if you feel more confident, you sound confident, you're not stuttering, it seems like you know exactly what you're talking about. Imagine how your prospect's gonna feel. They're only gonna feel more confident in you. They'll probably even give you less smoke screens. And this goes into the next thing. How do we prevent smoke screens and objections from popping up at the end of the call? It's the most annoying thing in the world. You get to the end of the call, you feel like you've gone through all the motions and you've gone through the pitch perfectly. But then that person just has so many objections. And you're like, where did all this come from? Well, it's because you didn't pre-handle it. Yes, you may have the articulation down. Yes, you maybe don't stutter, but you're not getting to the emotional drivers. You're not getting to the pain points. So how do you actually go about that? I like to use this thing called statement question. It's very, very simple. You acknowledge what the prospect says, you rebuttal it back to them, and then you ask a question that moves the conversation forward in the direction that you want it to go. Let me give you a scenario, that way you know exactly how it could be used. Statement question is used throughout the entirety of the sales call. Your discovery phase of your sales call should be anywhere from 25 to 30 minutes long of deep discovery, intentional discovery, finding their pain points. Let's say you're selling fitness coaching and you have an overweight father and he's telling you about how he feels lazy, how he feels like he's not in his kids' lives because he's fat and he can't play with his kids as much. And then he tells you that he feels like an absent father because of it. Any rookie closer would just move on to the next question. They would be like, yeah, I get it, man, and then move on to the next question. You can't get away with saying, yeah, I get it. You can't get away with saying, okay, yeah, okay, cool. You have to have deep acknowledgement. Deep acknowledgement is the most important thing to building connection, building empathy, but also building trust with your prospects. But how do we build that? Well, we take that same situation. We say, man, you're really strong for saying that. And I really do respect you, because a lot of people would never want to admit that. And then you transition it into your next question, which could be a challenge question. It could be a consequence question, whatever the case may be. But you see how I'm doing it. I'm really deeply acknowledging it back to him so that he feels understood, he feels heard. And then I can transition into my question that goes even deeper to build even more pain or even more emphasis on certain things. But statement question is the most important thing. If you can master statement question and master articulation, you're going to become an amazing closer. But there's one more thing that you're missing, and that's sounding like an actual genuine human on your sales calls. Because a lot of people, when they get into closing, they get this sales script and it's like, oh my God, you sound like you're reading off of something, which you are. But you don't want your prospects to be able to tell that you're reading off a script, right? You want to sound natural. So how do we breathe the script? How do we know it by heart in the fastest way possible to sound as natural as possible? Now, I got to give credit where credit is due. I got this from Alex Hormozi, but I'm going to give it to you as part of this because it's the most amazing tip that I've ever received. I want you to take your sales script, you're gonna read through the entire thing, and then you're gonna blank out certain words. Once you blank out certain words, your mind's gonna have to fill in the blank, showing that you know the certain part of the script. And you're gonna keep reading through it and recycling that process until your entire script is blanked out, and then you memorize it by heart. That's called breathing your script. And you'll sound way more natural when you combine it with statement question, your articulation is on point, and you're able to do deep discovery to prevent objections from happening at the end of the call. Mastering those things right there is what separates a closer that's making $5,000 a month in commissions to a closer that's making $20,000 or even $30,000 a month in commissions. And I'm not just telling you just to tell you, I'm telling you from experience, because that's exactly how I went from making $5,000 a month in commission all the way up to $25,000 and $30,000 a month. It worked for me. It worked for a lot of my other students. So I want you to implement these exact tactics. And if you want to work with me one-on-one, you're tired of seeing course sellers, you want to work with someone that's personalizing the training to you, then I'm going to put the link in the description so you can work with me one-on-one. You still have to apply. I don't just accept random people, because I'm taking time out of my day to actually help people. So if you want to invest into your skill set, you want to work with me one-on-one, you're tired of the courses, you want an actual mentor, then click the link in the description, apply there, and I'll see you on the other side.